Hey everybody, Happy New Year! Dylan Bowman here from Freetrail, and in the first 10 days of 2024, we're going to be rolling out our Trail Runner of the Year award. This is our favorite time of year to celebrate all the great athletes and performances that made 2023 a year to remember in trail running, and this year we're super happy to have partnered with Ketone IQ to help bring the award to life. Make sure you check this product out, super cutting edge, futuristic endurance sport nutrition product, ketone supplement guaranteed to give you better focus and help you rip out on the trails. We have exclusive discount code that you can take advantage of here, hvmn.com/freetrail30. That link is also in the description here on YouTube. Enjoy these interviews with some of the best athletes in the world, and thanks for helping us celebrate 2023.
Sophia Laukli, live from Italy. Welcome to the show. Congratulations on being number 3 Trail Runner of the Year.
Thank you so much. Definitely excited for that.
It's a few days before Christmas. We were just bantering about what your plans are. You're sort of wrapping up what has been an amazing season. So maybe fill the people in on what you're doing in Italy and how you're feeling closing out 2023.
Yeah, it's definitely been quite the year. I can't complain, like way more success than I would have thought. And so that's always fun to end the year on that note. But yeah, like I ended the running season late October with Golden Trail. Kind of like the fun, but also downside of the double sport is, yeah, basically just went right into the ski season, into November, and then have been racing for the past 5-6 weeks, skiing. And then, yeah, now I'm in Italy for a little bit of a break, before the end of the year. So then I guess it's like December 30th or whatever. We start this like tour de ski that starts in Italy. It's like a stage race. I find it much easier than a running stage race, I will say. But it's like, I can't actually remember. I think it's like eight races, 9 days, or maybe something like that. It's a lot of racing, but it's fun. But yeah, that's kind of been my year, kind of back to back, never ending, but that's how I like it.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, coming off such a spectacular running season, it would probably be nice to have some time to decompress, at least psychologically, if not physically also. How do you manage that? Like, and what's your level of motivation at this point to, jump back on the Nordic skis and continue competing at such a high level?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's still something I'm trying to navigate. I was a little bit worried because coming like end of October and at the finals for Golden Trail, I was like physically burnt out, but definitely like mentally burnt out as well. And like all I was thinking, I was like, oh no, I gave myself like 4 or 5 days where I just kind of like sat on the couch. But I was like in Oslo, Norway. So like I love to like have season end like beach vacation and totally like separate, but that was not really realistic for, yeah, like this, whatever. I gave myself a few days, and very much surprised myself by getting like probably more excited for the ski season than I had before. I don't really know. I think in general, I approached this whole ski year or like ski season a bit differently. And so I was pretty excited to actually get into racing. But it is tough that, yeah, I guess basically my answer is that I haven't figured it out because I'm also now looking already ahead to the spring where I'm going to have once again maybe 3-4 days from my last ski race and then try to get into running shape as fast as possible. I think one of the benefits of being younger now is that I enjoy the like back-to-back nonstop, but I can imagine that it's not going to be super sustainable, and I'm going to actually need to figure out how to balance it a bit more. But yeah, like for me, just I give myself like a full week reset on each end or yeah, for each season. And I don't know, it's just been enough. I think I'm definitely someone who is motivated by racing. So like that is easy to get excited about even when I don't have like a full off season.
It's so cool. I mean, being among the best in 2 different sports. And yeah, I'm sure like there's a lot of, I don't know, maybe burnout just like from having to pin on a race bib and like constantly be going full gas. But also I'm sure there's a psychological freshness of changing sports too, that, the 2 things probably benefit each other. I'm also interested, if you don't mind entertaining me a little bit, just like what it looks like, because I'm not somebody who follows the Nordic scene as much. I love watching it in the Olympics, but
Yeah.
like what the next couple months look like for you in terms of like the travel and the number of races and things like that,
Yeah.
because it's a fairly high volume of both, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think maybe that's like, it's maybe more sustainable just because the running and the skiing seasons are actually like, they're so different. The environments, the racing, anyways. For skiing, it's like you race every weekend. It's normally two or three races. I'm not a sprinter, so I don't do three, but like you're racing at least twice a weekend, every weekend in a new country from like end of November all the way until April. And there's like a select few weeks that you go off. You probably get like 3, 4 weekends throughout the winter. But yeah, from November until April, it's like new weekend, new country, new race. And it's like, for me, like maintaining motivation and like avoiding burnout is much harder in the ski season for
Yeah.
sure.
Huh. Interesting.
So like the travel is definitely pretty brutal. And like going on 6 week long whatever trips where you are living out of your suitcase and in a new hotel every night. So yeah.
Tiring. I can imagine. Maybe before we start talking about your running season, which was amazing, have your friends, colleagues, fellow competitors in the Nordic scene like kind of noticed what you've done here? Because it seems like, a model that others might be able to emulate to sort of do dual sports and compete at a high level throughout the year. Are there other people who've been inspired by your example?
Yeah, I think maybe at least in like spoken sense, they're like, oh, I should do that. And I've definitely like, because there's a handful of skiers I know who are super strong runners as well. And I'm constantly like, come to this race. Like you would really surprise yourself. And so far, actually, no, there's definitely been like a few skiers that have started to dabble in like whether it be Golden Trail or like the World Cups or like I do think there's like a little bit of a movement that could play out because I think for me like basically what I'm telling them is it's made me more motivated about skiing. I don't know if it's made me better at skiing, but for me that's like less important. It's just have like being able to find ways to get super motivated about both sports
No.
is yeah why I've chosen to do both. And so I'm kind of explaining that to other skiers. And yeah, I mean, if my ski training has allowed me to have the success in running, it doesn't like there's probably plenty of other skiers too
Yeah, it's
that can
terrifying.
yeah, I'm sure it is. No, it's funny to like especially in the like summers and when I'm at the running races, people are like, you really just roller ski? And
Yeah.
like, and I'm like, yeah, it really works. And I'm probably not gonna like promote roller skiing because it's not that fun. But I think there's like a little bit of annoying. I don't know what the right term is, but yeah, like there could be some fear of a wave of cross country skiers coming into
Yeah.
running. I'm not definitely not the first. Like you can see now there's
Well, the
that's
schemo
like
phenomenon's already
yeah,
evolved, right? So now
exactly.
maybe it's the Nordic athletes that
Yeah,
come start dominating.
yeah,
Well, let's talk about running. Thanks for entertaining me. It's really fun.
yeah.
We should again do a longer one. But you had three awesome victories on the Golden Trail World Series this year. You won overall. Maybe we can just tick through some of those performances. Have you say a couple words just to recap some of your awesome achievements? You started the Mont Blanc Marathon in June, broke the course record there, which is a big deal, won by a big margin. I remember watching the coverage, and Mao Yao was off to an early lead before you caught up to her and then sort of had the race under control for the rest of the way. Anything you want to say about Mont Blanc Marathon or, in general, sort of like that transition you just talked about, like coming off the skis, getting
Yeah.
into running fitness again and having it start out so spectacularly?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that could have gone any better. Like it was my first race of the year and also the first marathon I'd ever done. So on the start line there, I was like, oh boy, I have no idea how this is gonna go. I have no idea if I can run fast or if I can run for that long. So in that it did, I mean, I did end up totally blowing up in that sense. Maybe it could have gone better in my pacing sense, but I I think that was by far my favorite race this year. Like I had never really, maybe I'd been to Chamonix before, but that was just like such a cool race. And I suffered, but I really enjoyed that distance. And it gave me a lot of confidence just in that. I mean, I had a good chunk of running training leading into it after skiing, but yeah, it was super cool to have that, like start off the year with that success.
So awesome. And then Sierre Zinal, which I think was your first time competing at the legendary Swiss mountain race. I've still never been, but I recall it sort of played out similarly in that Madalena Floria was off to the early lead, and then you caught up, had the race under control. And from what I've heard, that event is just like so special. And a win there is such a great accomplishment, like a lifetime achievement award. And you joined, Megan Lizotte and Stevie Kramer, who've both been American champions there. So I'd love to hear you talk about your experience at Sierra Zinal too.
Yeah, I think that was like, I was equally nervous, but had way, way less expectations for myself, but also others. Like people were like, don't come to this race, you're not going to do well. And I definitely like believe that. And so for me, I think I definitely perform well when I'm quote unquote like underdog or like there's nothing to lose. And so for me, it came across as like perfect pacing and just nailed that like tactics of that race. But I really just started and I was like, most of it I was in fourth, or like half of it I was in, yeah, I don't know, fourth, fifth, and third. And then I think like gradually throughout the race, like my mentality totally changed and I was like, okay, I feel good. But I never, yeah, like it was truly just not even in the cards for me that I could actually maybe win that. And so for that race, it was much more like surreal feeling, I would say, than the winning in Mont Blanc. And knowing like I don't think I can fully still appreciate the like what it means to win that race, because I've been told about like the like iconic Sierre Zinal and everything, but because I'm so new to trail running, like I it probably won't sink in for a while. But yeah, I mean that was unmatched for sure. Like coming through the finish, and like what people say about that race is totally true.
Yeah. Awesome. So I won't make you rehash every detail of the year, but maybe we could package Pikes Peak and the Golden Trail World Final together. And the other thing I'd love to hear you comment on is, at least from an outside perspective, it seemed like you and Judith Wider developed like a good friendly rivalry with each
Yeah.
other throughout the year. You guys had a couple little back and forths. She got the better of you at Dolomites, I think. And then, obviously you won the series outright, including finishing ahead of her a couple of times. So anything you want to say about Pikes Peak, the world final, and, the competition with Judith, I'd love to hear.
Yeah, I think that's like something I've just loved about the running world is, I mean, we're all very, very competitive, but it's super fun that we can kind of root for each other while we're also trying to beat each other. And so that it was cool because this was my first season competing against Judith as well. And so, yeah, we like definitely had this like deep rivalry, and I totally wanted to come back after Dolomites and beat her in Pikes. And so that was like a really fun race for me because it was the first like true head to head probably in any trail race I've had. And so
Mhm.
it was very, very rewarding to be first in that. And then, yeah, I mean, the finals, it was cool and fun for everyone else with how close it was between us, but it was definitely very stressful. And that was definitely a tough point in the year for me where I was like really putting a lot more focus on skiing because that was starting very soon. And so I definitely came to the finals probably like in not my best running shape, which I knew and like was intentional about. And so it was definitely like probably, yeah, it wasn't as like magical as the other races I had in the year,
Yeah.
but like that's kind of impossible to have a completely perfect season. And so it was really, I mean, the finals are going to be fun no matter what because it's just such a scene. But yeah, it was fun to have some drama for sure. And now I can say that in the moment I was like, uh-oh, but luckily it was enough.
Yeah. I love that they've engendered that spirit on the Golden Trail World Series
Yeah.
where there is the friendly competition, best athletes in the world without question doing battle multiple
Yeah.
times, but that there is the sort of fun social element traveling together. And Judith made the list also. So it's great to
Perfect.
see you guys kind of go back and forth.
Yeah.
Winding down now, I'd love to hear, obviously we talked about what have going on with your skiing. This is obviously a predominantly trail running oriented audience. So any
Right.
plans that you want to reveal about where people can plan to see you race next year? I'm sure your fans would love to hear.
Yeah, I mean, as of now, Golden Trail is kind of my focus just because it's the whole short distance thing is really perfect for when I'm trying to be skiing. And so I, yeah, with the new schedule, I'd like to go to Asia, and I think I would have a hard time not going back to like Mont Blanc and Sierre Zinal, and I have this like obsession with doing all the iconic ones, so I would love to do Zagama. I definitely wanted to try and do some qualifying for OCC, but that was not going to be in the cards for next year. So I'll leave that for another year. But that is definitely something eventually I want to do. But yeah, that's definitely like nothing set in stone because I'm not good at planning. But that is kind of my agenda. For
Yeah,
sure.
the season starts a lot earlier this year, and I think
Yeah,
April as opposed to June.
yeah.
So
That
yeah.
might be a little bit problematic, but I like have a hard time saying no. So somehow I have to get into running shape in 2 weeks.
Well, it's
So
exciting that they added those races in Japan and in China to the Golden Trail
yeah,
World Series, and I'm sure it'll be fun, dramatic racing as always, and they always do a great job of keeping us all informed and entertained with their great coverage. So we'll look forward to seeing you there. I've been asking everybody the same closing question. That is just to give a shout out to one person on your team or multiple people on your team. It can be who exist mostly behind the scenes, but who are integral to your success as an athlete. Please give a person a shout out.
oh man, can I think for a second? Like in
Perfect.
running?
Take your time. Yeah, however you want to interpret it. However you want to interpret it. Could be coach, training partners, friends, family, etc.
I mean, for me, I find the most in my teammates, and I'll give Malen on my Solomon team a shout out because she, yeah, just makes racing and training and having that like side by side. We're coming at like same time and everything. It's super fun to have her.
That's Malinosa, is that right?
Yeah.
Because okay, so she's a new character to me, but she had an awesome season too, and she's
Yeah.
obviously a young rising star who I think landed on a lot of people's radar. It's cool that you guys are friends and good training partners. Well, Sophia, it's great to meet you here. Again, I'm a huge fan and I can't wait to go longer form with you, but I appreciate your time. Happy holidays to you and congratulations on being voted by global cohort of voters #3 in the world Trail Runner of the Year.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Zach Miller, happy new year, my friend. Congratulations on #3 Trail Runner of the Year.
Oh, thank you, Dylan. Happy New Year to you too.
You got the Christmas tree behind you there back east in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
In a festive mood, it seems like.
Yeah, I guess it's still hanging around.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a nice few days here in Pennsylvania. Heading back out west pretty soon, but enjoying my time here.
Yeah, amazing. It's a good time to just connect with your roots again, hang out with the family, and decompress after an amazing year. And we're going to talk briefly about that amazing year, but I want to start with your most recent adventure, that being an attempted FKT in the Grand Canyon, the rim to rim to rim, one of the most iconic FKT routes in North America for sure. And you posted that it was Rob Krar who gave you the nudge to make this attempt. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who would love to be brought into that conversation. So tell us how Rob Krar persuaded you to give it a shot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was a whole lot of persuading. Yeah, it was more just sort of like a gentle nudge. We were in Italy together for our annual North Face Athlete Summit with all the athletes, not just the runners, climbers, and everyone. And we were. Hey, Ainsley. Sorry, my niece is here.
That's
She
okay.
might make a guest appearance. Do you want to say hello? Do you want to say hello?
Hey, Ainsley, aren't you cute?
So, yeah. All right. I got to talk to my friend here. Is that okay? All right. So, Oh, her brother might want to say hi too. This is my nephew Everett. Say hi, Everett.
Oh, this is
All
great.
right.
What's up, Everett? How you doing, buddy? Looking
All right,
good.
buddy. Cool. You might hear them a little in the background. But anyways, yeah, we were just at our athlete summit in Italy this year, and we were sitting around and me and Rob and Jen Lichter and I think a few others, and we got to talking about the canyon, and it was, yeah, I don't know. We were just kind of chatting about the canyon. We were kind of like talking to Jen about it, like, oh, maybe you should go for that record. Um, and then Rob said something to me about the potential of me going for it uh, as as well. And that was really it. It wasn't really like, oh, you should do that this year, or you should do that right now. It was more just like, I don't know, like a casual, like, um, just like, I don't know, like that'd be a good one for you, or whatever his exact words were.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, and that was it. And then that just sort of planted the seed, and I was just kind of like, oh well, I was like, I'm in good shape, and I don't really have any big race on my schedule, so
Yeah,
yeah,
because the option is like you either go back to
this is
JFK for, the fourth time or whatever it's been, or you go to Cape Town or
yeah,
something like that, or you do a little
yeah,
mission in the canyon.
yeah. So I was just kind of like, yeah, well, maybe I just maybe I go do this. Maybe that's not a bad idea. I'll give that some thought. So yeah, then I just kind of like sat with it a bit, and um, yeah, and then I went back to Colorado, and I decided, I'd at least go down to the canyon and scope it out. And I got in my bus and drove down there, and then it just kind of went from there. I actually thought maybe I was going to miss the window, because I didn't really want to do it before Thanksgiving. Just where I was at with like my running and stuff, I was like, I'd really like a few more weeks to just kind of prep and then rest up a bit. So I was like, I'd prefer not to do it right before Thanksgiving, but I knew that waiting until early December was going to be a roll of the dice in terms of would there be snow at the North Rim.
Mhm.
So yeah, I went home for Thanksgiving. I rolled the dice, went home for Thanksgiving, went to the running event in Texas, and then when I got back to Flag, the night I got back, it was snowing in Flag, and I was like, I think, and I had been checking some weather stuff, and I was like, oh, I think I might have missed it. But then I got in touch with Alicia Vargo and Jared Hazen and Bronco Billy, and after chatting a bit and looking at weather, we were like, you know what? We think there might still be a chance. So we gave it like a week of good sun. The canyon was getting like a week of good sun. So we gave it like about a week to melt to like melt out and whatnot, and then threw a little crew together. Jared Hazen, Cordis and Abby Hall, Bronco,
Yeah.
and then we all headed out to the canyon and gave it a rip, which was pretty
Heck yeah.
fun.
So you ran 6:11. You're roughly 15 minutes off Jim's ridiculous FKT there. How do you feel about your effort, and what did it make you feel about Jim's performance from many years ago?
Yeah, I was happy with it. In terms of Jim's performance, it just says a lot about how good that time is. But I could also tell that, like, it's hard for people to understand that. I think it's hard for people from afar to understand the magnitude of that FKT and that record.
Yeah.
Granted, having said that, I think that Jim could probably go faster, and I think that, like pretty much any record in the world, I think things can get broken. I mean, one of the records that I thought would maybe never get broken this year got broken by
Pat
Remy
Carpenter, is
in
that
the
what?
Pikes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, in the Pikes Peak Ascent. And on a snow year, which actually I think maybe the snowy conditions actually did, as oddly as it sounds, I think it may have actually worked in their favor.
Mhm.
But yeah, like that was a record I thought might never go, and it's gone. So yeah, I think the canyon record is beatable, but I'll tell you what, like pretty much from the moment I got in the canyon and started prepping for it, which I've been to the canyon before,
Yeah.
but since I got down there this year and started prepping for it, it was pretty evident how strong that record is. And I could just tell. I was like,
Like when you got to the North
Jim
Rim,
was flying.
when you got to the North Rim, did you have a sense that your attempt was already going to be a futile one?
No. When I got to the North Rim, I actually thought I still had a chance, which I was happy about because it would be pretty defeating to get halfway through and be like, well, I'm only halfway through and this is already sort of like not going to happen.
Mhm.
No, because the one thing about that record is if you talk to people who know a little bit of the background there, I only talked to Jim a little bit about it. He made a comment when he talked to me about it of like, I don't know if I'd have the balls to go out that hard again in
Mhm.
that effort. And he didn't really clarify that a whole lot when he said that. But then I talked to Jared Hazen about it and like Bronco, and they were saying that when Jim did that record, he was trying to go for a really, really fast rim to rim.
Single
And then he
crossing.
got over there, it was kind of like, they said he actually like dilly dallied. He was like, should I go back? And he like hesitated, and then he did. So he was over, I think, in like 2:43 or something. So Jared and I talked beforehand, and Jared was like, I think you should be slow at the North Rim, like
Mhm.
because of how Jim ran that, like he thought I should be slow. I shouldn't be shooting to hit Jim split. So I was like, okay, I need to be at the North. And Bronco was like, he's like, I think you can maybe negative split it because there is like so much real estate on the way back that is just downhill.
Yeah.
Because that canyon floor is like it's the flat section, but it's like a grinder on the way out, and then it's a
Yeah.
really fast cruiser bit on the way back. So you have this like 13-ish miles of just like downhill on the way back, and then just a really hard climb out.
Yeah.
So anyways, a negative split is a lot to ask, but I understood where Bronco was coming from. And
Yeah.
so we were kind of like, well, I should be somewhere around 3 hours at the North Rim, like preferably under, but I don't need to be at like 2:43 or whatever
Yeah.
Jim did.
Yeah.
So I was like, if I get to the North Rim like under 3, I was like, I think I have a shot. And I got to the North Rim at just barely 2:59:30. So I was like, it's not over. I've got a shot. And even
Yeah.
when I got back to Bronco for the climb out, I was still like, I have a shot, but I have to climb out really, really
Really
well.
strong. Yeah.
And that's it, I was about 16 minutes behind Jim at the North Rim, and I was about 16 minutes behind Jim at the finish.
Yeah. Okay.
So
You ran the second crossing about the same.
yeah, but I think also Jim like stopped to fill water bottles and stopped to go to the bathroom on the way back on his crossing, and I did none of that. So yeah, definitely props to him. His effort was like super stout, and
Yeah.
I imagine could go faster if he wanted to.
Amazing. Well, thanks for entertaining me with that. It was really cool way to end your season. You were the second fastest person to ever do the rim to rim to rim, which is a great achievement in its own right. Pivoting to your racing season, and again, this is meant to be sort of a more brief podcast, so we'll try and keep things more abbreviated and not take up your whole day. Obviously, you started by winning the Tarawera 100 miler at the beginning of the season, getting your qualification for UTMB at the end of the summer. We all know what happened there. So maybe let's spend some time talking about the things that you did in between. I'd love to hear you just talk about the World Championship briefly, and especially the battle that occurred within Team USA that pushed you all to a silver medal together. What do you remember about that day and what made it special, competing with Drew and Eric to get that silver medal?
Yeah, I mean, I think the team component is a lot of what makes that race special for me. You know, from a personal side, I think it was a strong race for me, not my strongest race of the year. Like I left it feeling like, oh, I had a good race, but I didn't have a great race. Like there was something just wasn't quite clicking, you know. Um, but from a team perspective, like yeah, I mean to be able to fight for, you know, we ended up silver, but we were very much in the fight for team gold, which wasn't really like so much an occurrence to me or like so much like in my mind until the last 10 miles or so of the race when people were starting to tell us things and be like, you know, hey, you're like in the fight for gold or whatever. And I think I don't even didn't even completely understand what they were trying to tell me at that point in the race. But yeah, like it came down to like the final descent. I looked back over my shoulder and I had been going back and forth with one other guy, and then I looked over my shoulder and there was Drew and Eric just like barreling down on me. And then I just like bombed the last downhill, you know, trying to, you know, trying to stay ahead of them, but like it was a really strong team effort too. Like Drew actually caught me, and then he and I were kind of like working together. I was like, I didn't know if he knew all of the course from there to the finish, and I did. So I was like yelling instructions at him from behind of like left turn, right turn, you know, because I didn't want him to miss anything. And then we just like we came in, him and I like basically to a sprint finish. And then Eric came in like I don't know, like 30 seconds after us, which was great because all of a sudden, I think we were the first team to get three guys into the finish.
Yep.
The French were still waiting for their last guy. So it was sort of like pins and needles for a while to see if we would win or not. But then their last guy came in and we missed it by like 5 minutes. But yeah, it was cool to fight like that as a team and have that excitement. Definitely one of the big moments of the year.
I would just revisited the results this morning, and Thibaut Garivier, who finished fourth, was only like a minute ahead of Drew. So, but
yeah,
fourth and seventh, you guys were only separated by like 90 seconds or something, which is testament to the level at these world championships.
Yeah, and I didn't know like how close he was to us exactly, but he was like right there apparently.
Yeah.
The poor guy that finished, let's see, Drew was fifth, I was sixth, Eric was seventh. The poor guy that finished like eighth or something, he was this pretty young guy, I think, from like, I think maybe the Czech Republic. And the dude just got like his hopes and dreams shattered in like the last 5 miles because he just got rolled by like all three of us. Which is like, I had caught this kid and I thought I had maybe dropped him, but every time it got like kind of technical and like not up, like every time it got sort of like flat and down and kind of technical, he would catch me again. And I was going back and forth and just like couldn't quite shake this guy. And then as soon as I saw like Drew and Eric, I just found this other realm and just took off. And the poor kid I think he was hurting so bad, and he just got rolled by like me and then Drew and then Eric, probably all within like a minute. And he just dropped like 3 places, like just like that.
Shout out to Tomáš Farnik, who I think you're referencing here from the Czech Republic. Yeah. And what a great service you provided to that youngster. He will be a better athlete for having that experience battling.
Oh, he ran great. I was so impressed. I was like, I have no clue who this kid is. Like, because he seemed like a young kid from Czech Republic. I think it was like no poles, was just like doing the whole race without poles. And I was like, this kid is a crusher. But yeah, he just sort of he sort of unfortunately ended up in the middle of the American storm, and it's a rough way to end a race, I think.
So Zach, we can start winding down now. I'm sure there's a lot of people who would love to hear you just maybe reflect on UTMB. It's been 5 months or something since that incredible second place, running under 20 hours, and what will go down as in history as one of the best, like 1-2 duels between you and Jim Walmsley. With 5 months of perspective, any things that have been sticking out in your memory or things that you've been thinking about that really special day?
Oh man, not probably not too much so. Like I don't know, I just still look back and feel I don't know very grateful for the way it ended up, and that all the training. You guys spend a lot of time training and working pretty hard to put something like that together, and the whole time you're not sure, like especially because of the way I approached it this year. I didn't know if I had set myself up for a great success or a great failure. Because I kind of maybe rolled the dice a little, took a bit of a gamble, but yeah, I look back and I'm super grateful that I was able to go out there and have a race like that, and it was great to be able to share it with Jim, and we've hung out some since, and because he's back in Flag now, and
Yeah.
we hung out some while I was down there, and so it's nice to be able to like share some more time together. But yeah, no, I think I don't like. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just very pleased with how it went and grateful for that.
As you should be. So looking ahead now, you were fortunately drawn in the Hard Rock lottery. The lottery gods smiled upon you a few weeks ago. What are you
Yeah.
thinking about for the 2024 season outside of Hard Rock, which I'm assuming you will take advantage of that entry? Is there anything else you'd like to reveal to the audience about where they might be able to see you compete next year?
Um, yeah, it's still a bit up in the air. Yeah, Hard Rock is the big goal. I, Hard Rock is the big goal. I will probably also be going out to Trans Gran Canaria in February. That's what I've been pointing myself towards. Um, I've been playing a bit of that cautious game of like, oh, let's kind of see how I feel. Um, but especially because it's an early race. But that's what I have my eye on. And then after Hard Rock, I'm not exactly sure. I am giving a lot of thought to Gary Robbins' new race up in Canada. I know it's not all set in stone yet. I've been in communication with him as he's working on it, trying to get it off the ground. But I'm thinking that there's a decent shot. That's where I'll be focusing my efforts post Hard Rock. Um, of course, like, there are still some things pending there in terms of just like,
Yep.
it's a new event that he's trying to get up and going. So, there could be a shift, but that's been the similar to Trans Gran Canaria, that's where my eye has been. So yeah, and if I would do that, then that there's a good chance that would be the end of my ultra season. Maybe there would be some sub ultra stuff after that. But I also might just like shut it down and get ready for another year then, because I don't normally do more than 3 ultras in a year.
Yep.
So although I don't know, my perspective's been changing a little. I think my body has been developing, so I'm sort of toying with what may or may not be possible, I guess.
Well, what a great calendar. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you racing here pretty soon at Trans Gran Canaria. And that field is shaping up really nicely. So it's going to be a good test to start.
Yeah, it is.
There. I've been asking everybody the same final question, Zach, and that is just to ask you to give shine or recognition or thanks or gratitude to somebody on your team who helped contribute to your success this year, who doesn't get enough credit.
Oh, who doesn't get enough credit? On our team.
Friends, family, training partners, anybody who helped.
Oh, yeah. Like just in my team in general. I thought you meant specifically my North Face team. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, there's so many people. I guess just like I'm going to keep it general, just like basically just like all of my close family and friends who, sort of put up with everything that I go about doing to try and make the good performances happen. There's just a lot of time spent training, and I'm not always the most organized with it. So things are sometimes kind of haphazard, and I do things at weird hours, and I'm, rushing back in at the last minute for Christmas brunch or Christmas dinner or, Thanksgiving lunch or whatever. So, or people just like sort of, being very gracious with how I manage my time and the things I have to get done. So just shout out to all of those people. It goes beyond just family.
Love it. Well, I'm sure your family is really enjoying your presence home for the holidays. Happy New Year to you, buddy. I'm looking forward to seeing you race in Trans Gran Canaria in just whatever, like maybe 6 weeks time at this point. I appreciate.
Yeah. 6 weeks.
Yeah. And yeah, congratulations on everything you achieved and congratulations for being number 3 trail runner of the year.
Or 8 weeks. Yeah. Thank you.